Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Damn Podcast. I'm your host, Angie Machado, publisher and owner of BeaverBlitz.com. Joined with me, as always, Jake Hedberg, who is down to a week and a half before graduation. Jake, how are you?
I'm doing well. It was a pretty fun weekend of baseball in Corvallis. Couldn't ask for a better Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Yeah, no, it's a great day here for the Beaver Nation. Allergies are bugging you, so if you're not in the Pacific Northwest or in the Valley, guys, I'm telling you, it's pretty bad right now. It's pretty brutal. So Jake is not crying. He is just dealing with the grass allergies. We have a really good show today for you. We're going to talk some about the Corvallis Regional, how the Beavers fared. Then we're also going to talk Florida State, the Beavers' next opponent for the Super Regional. And we're really excited to have a special guest join us for that. We're going to bring Mark Garland on, and we're going to talk all things baseball, including answer some listener questions. If you do have questions, make sure you pop it in the comments as well. But then we're going to let Mark get away and go do work, because this is like busiest time of the year for him. And Jake and I are going to sit back and talk a little football recruiting. So if you're into football recruiting and official visits, stick with us. We are going to touch on that toward the end of the pod. But this first part is all Corvallis Regional and Corvallis Super Regional. We're going to talk all things Oregon State and Florida State with the expert. We're going to bring on Mark Garland. He is the director of content for West Coast for College Baseball Central. Mark, you joined us earlier in the season. Welcome back.
Oh, happy to be back talking baseball. What a weekend, and we get another one, guys. Goss is going to be crazy. I can't wait.
Goss is going to be crazy. Well, I watched a lot of baseball this weekend. I felt like I had a little sitting on the couch a little too much, watching all the different teams. I actually didn't watch much Florida State. I keep saying Fresno, Florida State. But I did catch a bunch of other teams and watched a lot of the Corvallis Regional. Let's just kind of jump in and talk about that one. Oregon State, I talked with Mark before we jumped on, Jake, about how I felt that Oregon State had really just scratched the surface of their potential, like all season. It just seemed like the bats weren't really 100%. Like they just, I don't know. In JP's weekly walk-off, we talked about, offering some rum to Jobu and trying to get those bats woken up. But lost that opening game 4-6 after really kind of started on a really dismal note. Eric Segura struggling out of the gate. And then after that, Oregon State just bounced back in a way that I don't know if many people thought. Mark, what did you think of just the way they were able to turn it around?
It's not easy to lose your first game in a regional and win, because then you got to pitch a lot. You got to get a lot of pitching. You got to get a lot of hitting. And I think that the guys looked around the locker room at themselves and say, we're better than we've shown on the field for a lot of this season. We're better than we're playing right now. And I think they came together and just said, we're going to win this thing. We're going to figure it out. We're going to wear the black uniforms. We're going to go out there. We're going to beat everybody that's in front of us and figure out how to do this. And TCU, folks, was a top team. I had them in my top 16. I had them as a regional host. And you get them right away and play them in that morning game on Saturday. Beat them up, looked really good. The offense looked good. Freshman goes out there, he crushes it. It's just like the things started clicking for Oregon State. They started feeling better. They started doing the little things. They started getting that momentum. And I know that the Goss faithful at home had a lot to do with that, especially Saturday. Got them going and then rolling through Sunday. Once they got going through Sunday, that Sunday night game, I knew that there was going to be no problems on Monday. Yeah,
Sunday was it was rocking. You brought up a good point. And the batting was just it, especially. I look at someone like Trent Carraway, who has all the potential in the world, but he's really struggled at the plate. He's hit a home run now every regional game. His average is up over 300 now for the tournament. Jake, what did you see from Oregon State this weekend?
Yeah, excuse me. Sorry, my allergies are really bugging me. We kind of touched on this a little bit during the podcast last week, how if Oregon State wanted to make a run, they were going to need guys outside of, the big three with Ivar Arquette, Gavin Turley, and Wilson Weber to step up. And I think that's exactly what happened. And I think that's kind of how Oregon State won the way that they did. I think the stretch of baseball that Trent Caraway is on right now is the best I've seen from a Beaver in a while. I mean, 5 home runs in 5 games is pretty freaking hard to do. I think another guy, Tice Peterson as well, was another guy who was, he'd shown the talent, but hadn't really been consistent with it. And then this weekend was just nails. I think on Sunday he got on base 8 out of 11 times or something like that. Hell of a weekend from Tice. He should be back and ready to go for this upcoming weekend as well. And then another thing that kind of caught my eye was outside of Friday, the starting pitching was incredible. What Oregon State got from Dax Whitney and arguably his best performance as an Oregon State Beaver. Kleinschmidt going into the 8th inning was very impressive, and it was huge to kind of keep Oregon State's bullpen, loaded and ready to go. And then Queen on Sunday night going out and giving Oregon State 4 1/3 strong. And then I think what we saw from James DeCramer yesterday was very promising. I mean, this is a kid who is coming out making his second career start, and really SC had no answer for him. I mean, he had 6 strikeouts, only allowed 4 base runners and 5 frames, and just a dominant effort for a kid who was playing in his first postseason baseball. So the pitching depth Oregon State's kind of accumulated and built is really promising, because that's usually what it takes to go on a run once you get to Omaha. So if Oregon State's able to get past FSU this weekend, having that depth is going to be huge in the pitching staff.
Yeah, I that's a good point too, and especially when you're coming up through the losers bracket and you need to be able to pitch.
This weekend.
You think Dax Whitney, his first postseason as well. A couple young guys. I also thought AJ Hutchinson came in and did a really solid job and really
he pretty
tough
much
situation.
Yeah.
I think what did Segura go 27? That was okay. On the flip side, that was maybe the worst performance. I felt bad for the kid. It was a horrible way to start. But on the flip side of that too, pitching is such a mental thing. It's almost like putting. And for him to come back yesterday and be able to pitch a couple innings, get that off his back a little bit, I think will go a long way for this weekend.
Zach Kamatz too on Sunday. That was, it's always nerve-wracking almost to throw, those younger pitchers who haven't really gotten any postseason experience before. And I think it was crucial to get Kamatz time in the postseason in a setting like that. But man, he was really impressive. I think he had 7 strikeouts and 2 2/3. He was just dominant. So hopefully that's another, kind of bullpen arm Oregon State can trust on against FSU.
So Mark, I've got a question here. Squeaky Clean in the comments said, should Whitney and Kleinschmidt be moved up in the rotation for supers, and then with Segura coming in relief? What are your thoughts on that?
It's a big question here, because now you've got 4 guys that could start these 3 games, because Wyatt Queen has shown himself down the stretch to be a starting pitcher. The guy could be a weekend starter for any team in the country. Lucky enough to have him at Oregon State. I'd be fine with that, but the fact that Dax is thrown every Saturday, I don't like moving him off the Saturday. So I like to keep him on the Saturday. My thoughts on the matter are Eric would normally have thrown 35 to 50 pitches in a bullpen on Monday anyway. So that would have been his normal day to throw, would have been his normal bullpen arm. It's a little bit more strenuous to go out there and face a team like that in a regional there against USC. I think that you still start Eric. I think you get him out there on Friday, and if he doesn't go as long, you're okay, because you got so many arms now in the bullpen. You got Hutch. AJ Hutchinson's been so good coming out there and consistent throwing strikes and getting strikeouts. You still got Nelson Kelger who can go out there and go throw any amount of innings as well.
Yeah, we totally just forgot about Nelson.
And because he didn't really have to play a huge part, right? He came out there, he did his job. He wasn't anything spectacular other than what he's been all season for us. But coming out of the pen, he can come out there and eat up a bunch of innings too if we needed to him on Friday. And then you got so many other arms. Like now, if you don't have to go to Wyatt Queen, you can use him in any of those games. James DeCramer, now you trust him to go out there and go get some outs. Leif Palmer, another guy that can come out of the bullpen. There's so many arms in a 3-game series that it changes everything. The Beavers haven't had the luxury of playing a 3-game series where they say, oh, this is all we have to get for the week. They've played so many games through the weeks. They've had so many arms have to use. They're going to have a luxury of pitchers. Rich Dorman's done a tremendous job building these guys' confidence, getting these guys going, and they just showed up for him Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
That's a good comment, because in the lodge at BeaverBlitz, Rich Dorman has taken a lot of abuse from some fans that haven't been happy with the way he's managed the bullpen. Do you think some of that was, management, but also early in the year trying to get these guys ready for this moment?
It's all setting up for this moment. You see the really good teams they figure out their arms. They don't care if they go out there and they give up some runs early. They don't care if they go lose some of these games. You got to get these guys some experience. And part of that is having some failures and some struggles. You got to work through some stuff. Because if you can't work through it at that point in the season, in the middle of the season, during the season, you're not going to do it when it comes to the postseason. If you have any struggles, you're going to stumble. You're going to fall apart. So those guys, you can see it in their face. They're confident. They go out there, they walk a guy, no problem. We're going to get double play. I'm going to do something good. I'm going to be great for my teammates. And they also trust giving the ball to the next guy. They're like, okay, I didn't have it today. Eric struggled on Friday. Okay, turn the ball over to the next guy. Somebody else is going to help me out. My teammates are going to pick me up. I think that's what he's bred out there. I think that these guys that are in that bullpen all believe this, and they all have roles now that they know they can go out there and throw it anytime. It's massive for this team. And they've weeded out, they've figured out folks that probably are not going to make that rotation on the weekends and be able to be a part of that. So it's all been just building up to this, getting this bullpen ready for this weekend.
And another kind of strategic part that we saw a lot of was the small ball that Oregon State is, and we hadn't seen a lot of that all season. We saw USC actually, take it to TCU in that first game they played and really kind of stymied TCU with some of those bunts. Then we see Oregon State bring it out on USC. That was super successful. Do you think that's something that Oregon State's going to need to bring out again against FSU?
Yeah, I think that when the time calls for it, those guys are going to have to perform. I think you're going to have to see some bunts from some guys. Easton Talt's been good all season with that. But then you go through the lineup 1 through 9, everybody knows that they may be expected to bunt. All the way through Trent Caraway, who struggled his freshman year with it, obviously. But all those guys know, hey, if the time comes up I need to bunt, I'm going to do it. I'm going to lay it down. I'm going to do the best of my ability. It puts a lot of pressure on defenses. Now, Florida State fielded 979 this year. They're a very good defensive team. But it takes a lot. You're going to have a freshman over there in Miles Bailey at first base, putting the ball on the ground, putting those bunts out there. That puts a lot of pressure on a young man, especially on the road where they haven't had any really true road games. This is a long travel day for Florida State.
Yeah, very long. So after what you saw, so Oregon State I don't know if you've been living under a rock, to our listeners. Oregon State lost the first game 4-6. They come out, beat TCU 7-2, beat St. Mary's 20-3, leading to that 2-game games with USC. They beat USC on Saturday or Sunday night 14-1, and then came out 1-9-0, leading to this. What do you want to see Oregon State clean up before this weekend, Mark?
If you would have asked me this question on Friday, it was the strikeouts. They had way too many strikeouts, just taking too many pitches, swinging through too many pitches. The pitch selection got a little bit better. They started taking some walks. They started getting after those guys. I think that as long as they can limit the strikeouts, and they're going to be facing one of the best arms in the country in Jamie Arnold, he's going to strike people out. But if you can limit it in the big situations, you can put the ball in play. The bunting, I think, helped those guys too, because they realized we can put the ball in play. It's going to make people make mistakes. Get after it. Don't need a home run swing. The ball's going to fly out. Get those regular swings and don't strike out.
Jake, did you see anything else that you want to see cleaned up?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mark pretty much hit it on the head. Just carry over the momentum from this weekend. I think the atmosphere was incredible. I think that needs to be carried over. That was the game on Monday was one of the best atmospheres I've been to for really any Oregon State athletic event. So I'm just hopeful that carries over.
Yeah, I like Mark, like you said too, being able to bunt. I think sometimes these guys get in their own head and it's all about power and launch angle and exit velo. And they start thinking so much about hitting the long ball that they really sometimes just need to get it in play. And we saw just a lot of base hits. The bunts maybe kind of start getting them thinking about that a little differently. Okay, so let's talk Florida State. This is the number 9 seed. Oregon State's the 8 seed. This might be the best matchup in the whole Super Regionals, in my opinion. Oregon State's coming into this 45-13-1, Florida State 41-14, traveling across the country. So Florida State, how they got here, they won 3 straight. They did not have to come up through the losers bracket. They beat Bethune-Cookman 6-2, and then they beat Mississippi State twice, 10-3 and 5-2 to take that Tallahassee Regional. As Mark alluded to, they have one of the top pitchers in the country, maybe number 1 overall pick in Jamie Arnold, Friday night guy, 8-2 with a 3.12 ERA. What do you like about him, Mark?
He throws a lot of strikes, and he can throw 3 pitches for strikes, and he has 3 out pitches. So he can beat you with the fastball, he can beat you with the slider, and then he has an arm side changeup that really makes right-handed hitters look silly. That's what he's been so good at. And over his career, you saw him last year in the College World Series. I mean, this is a tried, tested guy that knows how to throw strikes, and he knows how to get hitters out, really good hitters. The thing about Jamie Arnold that's so unmatched across the country is that he will throw all 3 pitches in any count. He doesn't care. He can throw any 3 pitches. He will throw them for strikes, and he will make hitters get themselves out. And he's done a really good job this year in ACC ball, even though he missed a couple starts. He still has got in my eyes, he's the number 1 pitcher going to be taken on the draft board.
Okay. So tell me about the rest. I mean, you have Joey Vellini, 8-5 with a 3.68, and then Wes Mendez, 6-2 with a 4.93.
So a couple of the starts that Jamie Arnold missed, Joey Vellini stepped up, and he was huge for this team.
Is he their Saturday guy then?
He's not. So
okay.
I think that they're going to pitch. So they pitched reverse last weekend. So they started with Vellini on Friday. He's had a little bit of arm fatigue down the end of the stretch of the season. So I think you're going to see him be moved to the Sunday role. I think they're going to start Friday, Jamie Arnold. I think they're going to go number 2 is Wes Mendez. This guy has been really, really good. He's been the Sunday role. He's kind of moved throughout whatever that Link Jarrett is needed. He's going to be the Saturday guy. I mean, he's too good. He threw 8 innings against Mississippi State. Just the 2 earned runs, 9 strikeouts. Again, he's 7-2 on the season, so another just really talented left-handed pitcher. He's a little different from Jamie Arnold, and he's more of a power guy. He's going to come after you. He's going to really throw fastballs and try to get after you early in counts. So I think that the Beavers are going to have to take advantage of that, and they hit left-handed pitching really good this weekend. So I really look for them to jump all over him. And then if they get to Vellini on Sunday, I think the matchup swings hard to Beavers if the Beavers don't win the first 2.
Okay. What else do you like about, I mean, FSU, they're just a solid team, top to bottom. I mean, defensively, offensively.
Huge lineup, returns a bunch of guys. Not everybody from last year's team that went to the World Series. Now, this is a team that competed last year at a high level. Alex Lodies comes in. He won ACC Player of the Year. He's a junior shortstop for them. 405, 17 home runs, 67 RBIs. He's all the superlatives you can throw at a guy. He was the best shortstop in a shortstop league in the ACC this year, beating out his cousin Kyle for the ACC Player of the Year. Max Williams out there in the outfield, 318, 18 home runs, 49 RBIs. Freshman Miles Bailey at first was maybe the most impressive freshman in the country for me, jumping out there. Not on the pitching side. There were some freshman pitchers like Dax that were really, really good. But as far as a hitter goes out there, you're going to say throw him at first base for a Florida State team that finished in 9th place here. And 328, 17 home runs, 53 RBIs. He's a big body, 6'4", hits the ball at the ballpark, hits it all directions. Gage Harrelson transfers in from Texas Tech, starts in the outfield right away for this team. Drew Farreau over there at second base has 16 home runs and 51 RBIs. This is a team that hits the ball really well, and they get after guys they hit with a long ball. They don't necessarily bunt and do a lot of that. They don't do a lot of stealing. They're going to try to drive the ball out of the ballpark.
Okay, so they're gonna be looking for the exit velo and launch angles here.
Yes, absolutely.
So this matchup, Mark, is this one of your top matchups then for the Super Regionals?
It's the top one. I mean, I've been poring over them all morning, trying to look through all these. As soon as we started seeing them start out on Sunday, we started looking through all of these matchups that, these 8 winners go to Omaha. This is definitely the toughest one for me. I was like, these are 2 of the most evenly matched teams. One, they're the only teams in the country that both have 3 true starting pitchers to go on the weekend. That hasn't happened for many places across the country. They both have All-American shortstops. They both have guys that are going to get drafted, probably the top 5 picks. They match up so evenly. They got 2 coaches that have both been 2-time All-Americans at their own schools, in Link Jarrett at Florida State and Mitch Canham at Oregon State. I don't know if you can match up any more comparisons. That's how evenly based this is, and that's why they're the 8 and 9 seeds. I think you could have flipped them in any year, but being at home, I think, makes a big difference for Oregon State this year.
Yes, and the weather looks good. I know Florida State fans have been kind of griping about the turf and the turf mound and all of that, but the weather looks good, so it should be a great, glorious weekend in Corvallis this weekend. Before I let you go, Mark, I have some fan questions, and a lot of people just are anxious to hear your thoughts on this, just with the national perspective here. First one, which is better for national prominence for OSU baseball, a Pac-12 baseball conference or continued independence for the Beavers?
Man, it's tough. It really depends on who you add in the conference. I know Texas State's still in the conversation. I know that they've had conversations with Memphis and Tulane, and those 2 schools would be okay for baseball. Texas State probably the best of the baseball schools. Honestly, independent right now, I was really worried to see what the committee was going to do as far as ranking the Beavs. They had no problem with it. So as long as I feel independent would be the better way to go at this point in time with how they rated them and allowed them to have a host and be a national seed, I'd be fine with the independent. I don't think that the Pac-12 would add enough baseball at this time to be better for the Beavers. It might be better overall for sports. At this time, the baseball is not there for what we would see in the Pac-12.
Do you think, okay, this is just off the cuff because there's some discussion about Oregon State and Oregon continuing playing. There's some talk that Oregon coach Waz does not want to have a 3-game series in Corvallis and that game next year is in jeopardy. What are you hearing about, Oregon State? And is that something you think they need to keep if Oregon State continues that independent path?
I think Oregon State wants it. I know Oregon State fans want it. For Oregon's sake, it doesn't necessarily make sense to do it as a weekend series. You see a lot of these where those teams that are in different conferences now that are in the same state or even state rivals, they don't play each other on the weekend. They play during the week. So you see a lot of that where you'd think, oh, this team played forever against the team on weekends. And it's not even necessarily the case because it hasn't even been that many weekends, that they've played each other, only 14 years now. So as far as Oregon's concerned, it doesn't necessarily make a ton of sense for them to travel up to Oregon State and take a hit on the RPI if they don't win those games. Playing at home this year was smart for Oregon, but playing on the road really doesn't make a lot of sense for them. So I can understand if they're looking at it overall and saying, this doesn't help us in the baseball scheme of things.
Yeah. Those wins help them, though, get
Yeah, they would. So, but then you talk about going up and trying to beat.
Yeah, exactly, and then going to Corvallis.
Successful up here.
Yeah, so. Yeah. So you've seen a lot of facilities. Here's a fan question. How would you rate Oregon State's facilities when you put them up against, some of the best programs in the country?
Oh, they're right there. I mean, honestly, with that new hitting facility out in center field and the pitching lab they got going on out there, the bullpen underneath the left field fence there, and just Goss Stadium in general, how much they've made additions to that place, it's right there with any in the country. I mean, people are going to argue and say that there's some better ones in LSU and, the box is better there and Baum Walker is better in Arkansas. Listen, I've been to these stadiums. They're great. They're awesome.
They're big. I mean, they're bigger.
They hold a lot of fans.
Yeah.
What Oregon State brings, and you can ask SEC teams that come up here, it's different and it's explosive. The fans know baseball. They want to be there for baseball. They're not just casual showing up to the weekend. These people care about baseball. They want to be there for it. And what Oregon State has built around it and what these boosters have built, this is a true baseball facility. I mean, it's better than a lot of minor league facilities.
Yeah, Jake, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just had a question, going back to this upcoming weekend. What's kind of your biggest X factor? Is there a player or anything that kind of comes to mind about what's something that could push the game in either Oregon State or FSU's direction?
The biggest thing is Oregon State going to be able to get after either one of these first starting pitchers in Jamie Arnold or Wes Mendez getting into that bullpen. Now, Florida State has some bullpen arms that are pretty good. Joe Charles, John Abraham, Peyton Prescott, and Chris Kreiner. They're good, but they're not elite arms, and they're all right-handed arms. So I'm not afraid of them necessarily when you look at them overall. If they can get into that bullpen early, especially on Jamie Arnold, if they can do anything to him on Friday night, this Beaver team has the advantage 100%. The bullpen for Oregon State is just a lot better. They have a lot more arms that are ready to go, and I feel like that's the way that they're going to have to get after this. And making those left-handed pitchers field bunts on turf, that's going to be a whole different thing for them.
Yeah, I think that'll be an interesting matchup. Anything else, Jake?
Nope, that was just that was the only question that really came to mind.
Well, you guys, you can find him on Twitter. It's Mark. Oh, now I missed. Give us your Twitter, Mark.
At Margar0010, or you can find us at College Baseball Central. We're going to have you for all weekends. I'll be doing all the fun shows.
Yes, so make sure you guys follow him. He has tons of great insight, and no one knows baseball better than Mark. So, Mark, appreciate you joining us, and we'll get you back hopefully next week. We can maybe talk a little more baseball.
Love it. Thanks for having me on again, guys. Good to see you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you.
Mark Garland with College Baseball Central. So lucky for getting him on and giving us his insight. Jake, that was a fun weekend.
Yes, it was. That Monday game was probably my favorite Oregon State baseball game I've ever been to.
You're coming up here on your 4-year college career. This is just off the cuff. Favorite sport moment? Is that right? You're going to probably say that just because it's fresh in your mind, but
no, it's not really close to me. So my sophomore year was the 2022 football season, and I had gotten as an 18th birthday present. My grandpa and dad had gotten me two sideline passes for the Civil War at the recruiting dinner right before COVID hit. And then that got pushed back, obviously, to 2022. And I was super bummed because I was like, because the 2020 Civil War was such a great game. And that was something I was like, oh, I don't know if that's going to happen again. And, just kind of being on the, being on the sideline of that 2022 Civil War and just kind of seeing, how how the sideline just kind of almost came back from the dead. I mean, down 21 points and then just the switch 180 and that atmosphere was electric. And, that's something I'm never going to forget was that 2022 Civil War.
That was a good one. And I didn't know you were on the sideline for that one. That is a good one. Yes. So Jake's graduating. So you're not done with us yet, Jake, because I know you're going to hang out but as he looks for a career job, but we've got him for a little bit, but as you guys have all met, Davis Doan will be taking over his spot, but just a word of advice for anyone that loves sports. Jake is one of these guys. He was persistent. I think he reached out and got me on Twitter a couple times, like, hey, can we meet? Love to talk to you. And I was finally like, okay, meet me at the first practice. And there he was. He was there early and he knew his roster. He knew everything. He was ready. And it's been a really great couple years, Jake. So I'm excited to see what you do as you join the ranks of graduate. And we've had some great ones over the years. So big shoes to fill between Marcus Greaves, Amy Schwartz, Carter Baines, Brian Rathbone, Warner Strasbaugh, Raju Woodward. There's been a lot of really good writers and contributors. So you're joining those ranks as alumni, but you always have a home at BeaverBlitz. And then we're also going to be excited to see watch Davis grow into the new role. But like I said, you're not done yet. And you've been super busy covering football recruiting, which I know is like your true love. So talk to me here. So big weekend this past weekend for Oregon State.
Yeah.
They welcomed, was it six players? What are the returns? I know you've been touching base with all these guys. What has the overall sentiment been?
Yeah, it's been super positive so far. The weather was beautiful here this weekend, which is probably a very helpful factor. Everyone I've talked to has really just raved about the coaching staff, how, the players and the coaches are so connected and really the culture that Trent Bray has built here at Oregon State. That's something that I've gotten to see a little bit, and that culture is something that's very strong. And I can see how from a recruit's perspective, how that culture is a pretty attractive thing. I think the facilities have been impressing kids as well, as has the renovated stadium as well. I was kind of looking around through stadiums the other day, and Oregon State Stadium is really nice compared to other schools. It's smaller, but man, it's nice. And I think these kids are seeing that, and just all positives so far. Was a good weekend. I think this upcoming weekend is going to be another good weekend as well.
Do you know? Did any of these recruits get to go to any of the baseball games, or did?
I don't believe so.
Okay, they keep them pretty busy.
Yeah, I'm not confident on that, but I would be surprised. I know I know for sure a few of them did, and I would be surprised if the other couple did. Yeah.
Okay. So this weekend, I show four official visitors.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, so we have and again we're going all Florida, Texas, and they're going where the talent is here. I'm going to lead off. I'm not going with the highest rated recruit coming in, but I'm going with a familiar name for Beaver Nation. Allen, Texas cornerback Kai Wheaton is coming in. Is it Kenny Wheaton's son?
Yes, the son of Kenny, and he's cousins with former Oregon State receiver Marcus.
Kai Wheaton has had really good things to say about Oregon State from the onset, which they've been recruiting him for months now. Talk to us about Kai.
Yeah, he's a kid who's familiar with the program. It's always a good sign, especially for an out-of-state kid. He's a talented kid. He's got some pretty good offers. Colorado, Arizona. Doesn't have the best size. It's like 6. I'm expecting him to kind of check out 6 foot, 170, 175. But that's something. I'm not sure how fast he runs. I don't have any measurables on that, but I'm assuming he's probably pretty fast kid. So, that speed will kind of play to that size disadvantage and complement each other. And overall, I think he's a pretty strong player. He's got Colorado and Arizona as two other of his top offers off the top of my head. And I think Oregon State's in a pretty good spot for him, as we are currently the only official visit set scheduled.
Yeah, and he set that early, so that's a big one. He's currently in 24/7 listed at 5'11 and a half, 170, and a 86 ranking, so a middle high 3-star. 88 3-star ranking safety. Isaiah Williams out of Fort Bend Marshall, Missouri City, Texas, comes in. He's listed at 6', 190. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, I mean, this is a kid who really he saw his recruitment explode his sophomore year. At one point, he had a top 5 of schools, including Ohio State, LSU, Texas A&M. Didn't have a great junior season. He's kind of seen his stock take a dip. In addition to Oregon State, he's got officials lined up with Illinois and Utah, I believe. So 2 top 25 teams Oregon State's competing with there. Decent size to him. Excited to get him on campus, and we'll see how it goes.
And then a couple more defensive players. Reese Beck, D lineman, always a position of need for the Beavers. 6'5", 250 out of Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. Yeah,
it's not very often you see 6'5", 250-pound lacrosse players, but he's actually a standout lacrosse guy as well. Kind of a late bloomer. He's relatively new to playing football. He just got his 24/7 rating the past week or two. I think Oregon State's in a good spot here. They've already got one defensive tackle commit in Noah Tischendorf, who's again that smaller, wider guy, and Oregon State's looking for that second guy to be taller, a bit longer, and that's a 6'5", 250 guy like Reese Beck.
If he's a lacrosse player, he can move well.
Yeah, so he definitely is he's probably a pretty agile kid. I believe UConn's the only other official set. Okay. So this is a battle that Oregon State could very well come out on top of.
Yeah, and we've seen that in the past. Oregon State likes to go after some of these guys, take a chance on guys that come across, with the right size, speed, metrics, I guess, and try to develop them. And then cornerback, a 6'4", 180 cornerback, Zaire Hiller out of Denton, Texas, Ryan High School. Yeah. 88 high 3-star ranking with him.
Yeah, this guy was kind of a later addition to this weekend, so I haven't got the chance to watch his film yet. But, the measurables just jump off there. 6'4", 180. It's a pretty big corner. We've got guys in Oregon State roster that size. It's like Skylar Thomas, Jaheim Patterson, Tyree Savvy, those bigger body guys, but they're more of safety type guys. So it's interesting to see if Oregon State is recruiting him as a corner now with the intention of cross-training him and converting him to safety. But, that's a massive, massive defensive back. For a kid rated as high as he is, his offer sheet really isn't as impressive as I thought it'd be. I want to say he only had 2 or 3 other P4, P5 scholarship offers, so it's a battle Oregon State could definitely come out on top of. This weekend, I think it's going to be a great atmosphere in Corvallis. I think they're going to see a lot of, the fans coming down for the Super Regional. I think the weather's it's going to be in like the 80s, the 90s. Yeah. So I think it sets up well for a good weekend of official visits.
And school's still in session, so there will be plenty of co-eds around campus.
Yeah, that never hurts.
That doesn't hurt. And then then they kind of take the next week off for graduation, and then another finishing out in June with another pretty big so far headlined June 20th weekend with Dagan Rose, the quarterback commit, who is just on the verge of getting that 4th star. So we'll have more on that as we get closer. But Jake, anybody you feel close to? I mean, do you think the Bees are close to getting another commitment? It's been a week or so.
It's been 2 weeks now. I think Lance Mahickey is a guy he wanted to pop. He seemed to really enjoy his visit. He's still going to take his next. He just went to Washington State, but he's still got 3 more officials. So I think he's going to take all those and then choose. I think if all goes well, I think you could see. Excuse me, allergies are killing me. I think if all goes well this week, you could see Kai Wheaton pull the trigger as well. So Kai's probably the one I'm watching closest this weekend.
Yeah. You have to remember, these guys are all taking their visits. So I think toward end of June and then the month of July could be busy for Oregon State because these are their top prospects. And definitely, I helped out the weekend you were at Shasta, and all the returns that the guys I talked to, they like you mentioned, they all talk about the culture and the coaches and the family atmosphere that the players and that you can tell. I mean, you and I have been around football a long time, and you can tell the programs that fake it and the ones that actually have it. So definitely a positive for Oregon State.
It's definitely a very tight-knit program. The coaches do everything together, the players do everything together, the coaches and the players do stuff together. I think it's the start of something special.
So it's going to be a big week in Corvallis. So tickets, I believe if you don't have tickets, they go on sale Thursday morning at 7 a.m. It's going to be a big ticket. Let's see. I'm just looking.
If there's any season ticket holders that are looking to get rid of their infield tickets, DM me on Twitter. Let me know. Yeah.
I think my husband is the same boat here. Eric was asking me. Eric's at a work conference, and he's like, "Well, are we going?" And I said, "I don't have tickets, but we'll see what we can do."
I was lucky enough to get one on Monday.
Let's see. Wait, we had Andrew Beach ask a question. Is it my imagination, or did the Corvallis Regional Supers have the worst time slots for games? And then he said, I saw Coach Bray at the baseball game, so go Beavs. I actually expected Oregon State to have later time slots. The 3 o'clock is actually a pretty decent time for East Coast. It's the 5 o'clock slot. So
I love that time.
Yeah, 3 on. I actually expected Oregon State to have like the 7 on both nights this week. The 7 p.m. slot, which is a 10 p.m. start on the East Coast. So actually, I think Oregon State's getting some good times for both regional and super regionals. They were on ESPN Plus for a game or two, but it's been I actually, like I said, I think they've been pretty good. And yes, Coach Bray's been at the games as well. So Jake, have a super week. Get those allergies under control.
I'll try.
I know they're miserable. I don't know what to tell you. I got my essential oils, but I don't even know how much they help, but they don't take it away. So hopefully we're back next week to talk about more baseball and recruiting. So fingers are crossed. What?
Talk some Omaha.
Yes. Well, I don't want to jinx anything, but hopefully we're back. Otherwise, he's Jake Hedberg. I'm Angie Machado, and we'll see you next time on the Damn Pod.